Welcome to True Crime Threads, where we unravel the darkest and most twisted stories. In today's case, a teacher's wife discovers her millionaire husband's shocking betrayal, leading to a deadly confrontation. Married for 15 years, Leah believed she had everything a loving husband, Jack, who had grown from a school teacher into a self-made millionaire and 2 beautiful children. Their life seemed perfect, with a sprawling suburban mansion, luxury cars, and family vacations that most could only dream of. Jack's success in creating a groundbreaking tech startup had catapulted them into a world of wealth and privilege. Yet Leah remained grounded. She continued her role as a dedicated schoolteacher, choosing to stay connected to her roots rather than being swept away by their newfound riches. To outsiders, their lives were the epitome of happiness. A picture-perfect marriage, admired by all who knew them. Jack had always been ambitious, but his transformation over the years was remarkable. What started as long hours working on his tech company evolved into a relentless pursuit of success. His drive paid off, turning their modest life into one filled with every luxury imaginable. While Leah was proud of his accomplishments, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted in their relationship. Subtle changes began to surface. Jack's time at home dwindled, replaced by frequent business trips and late-night meetings that he insisted were crucial to the company's growth. Leah, though supportive, couldn't ignore how disconnected he seemed from their family life. At first, Leah attributed his behavior to the pressures of running a multi-million-dollar business. She reasoned that the stress of managing employees, investors, and clients would naturally demand much of his attention. Still, the changes in Jack extended beyond his work habits. He began taking a sudden interest in his appearance, spending hours at the gym and carefully curating a wardrobe filled with designer suits. Leah found herself questioning why these changes felt more personal than professional. She dismissed her concerns as insecurities, convincing herself that Jack's actions stemmed from his desire to project success. But as months passed, Leah began noticing other details that didn't quite add up. Jack's phone, once casually left on the counter or nightstand, now rarely left his side. It was always locked with a passcode Leah didn't know, a sharp departure from their previous openness. He would often step out of the room to take calls or send texts, brushing off her questions with vague responses. Leah wanted to trust him, but her intuition nagged at her. Adding to her unease, Jack's demeanor towards her changed. He became more irritable and impatient, snapping at her over trivial matters. Their conversations, once filled with warmth and laughter, turned into brief, surface-level exchanges. Even during their rare family dinners, Jack seemed distracted, his mind elsewhere. Leah felt the growing distance between them, but she was unsure how to bridge the gap. Friends and family remained oblivious to the cracks forming in their relationship. To them, Leah and Jack were still the ideal couple, living a dream life free of conflict or hardship. Leah, however, felt increasingly isolated. The man she had built a life with was slipping away, and she couldn't figure out how to stop it. As someone who valued loyalty and commitment above all else, Leah struggled with the idea that her husband might be hiding something. Despite her growing doubts, Leah tried to suppress her feelings, convincing herself that she was overthinking. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. Little did she know, the perfect life she thought she had was about to unravel in ways she couldn't have imagined. Leah's doubts solidified one fateful afternoon. While tidying up Jack's home office, she stumbled across a crumpled receipt tucked carelessly inside one of his desk drawers. At first, it seemed like an ordinary slip of paper, but her heart sank as she scanned the details. It was from an exclusive luxury spa, the kind Leah had only heard about in whispers among the wealthy elite. The receipt wasn't just for a single visit. It listed a series of appointments spread across several months. One detail stood out in bold lettering: the name of the massage therapist, Rosa. Leah's mind raced as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. Jack had never mentioned visiting a spa, let alone one this extravagant. The cost of each session was astronomical, far exceeding what one might expect for routine treatments. She couldn't ignore the frequency of the appointments, each scheduled meticulously during times when Jack claimed to be at work. It felt like a puzzle piece falling into place, confirming the suspicions she had been trying to suppress for months. Determined to uncover the truth, Leah delved deeper into the receipt's implications. A quick online search revealed the spa's pristine website, showcasing an array of luxurious treatments and promising relaxation in a serene environment. However, as Leah scrolled further, she discovered an undercurrent of rumors surrounding the establishment. Whispers on anonymous forums hinted that some of the spa's services extended far beyond massages, catering discreetly to an elite clientele. The mention of Rosa in particular appeared repeatedly in these discussions, described as someone who maintained close and highly personal relationships with her wealthiest clients. Leah's unease grew into a gnawing dread. She couldn't shake the image of Jack lying to her, sneaking away to this hidden world of indulgence and secrecy. It felt like a betrayal, even without hard evidence of anything beyond the appointments. Yet she needed more than a receipt to confirm her fears. Leah began paying closer attention to Jack's behavior, scrutinizing every detail. It wasn't long before she found more evidence that deepened her suspicions. A credit card statement revealed additional charges linked to the spa, some of which coincided with nights Jack had claimed to be stuck in meetings. Leah also noticed subtle but damning changes in his routine. He was coming home later than usual, carrying the faint scent of a perfume she didn't recognize. His excuses about long work hours and client dinners began to sound rehearsed, lacking the sincerity she once trusted. Unable to ignore the mounting evidence, Leah made the difficult decision to investigate further. One evening, while Jack was out, she searched his wardrobe and belongings for anything that might provide clarity. In the pocket of a blazer, she found a handwritten note that read, "Looking forward to next time, Rosa." The words were innocuous on the surface, but to Leah they carried an undeniable weight. The discovery confirmed what Leah had feared all along. Jack was keeping secrets, and Rosa was at the center of them. Her world, once steady and predictable, now felt as though it were crumbling beneath her feet. Leah couldn't decide what hurt more, the betrayal itself, or the realization that she had been blind to it for so long. In the days that followed, Leah couldn't stop obsessing over what she had found. Every time Jack walked through the door, she saw him in a new light, his every word and gesture tainted by her growing distrust. Yet she remained silent, carefully masking her emotions while she planned her next move. For Leah, the receipt was more than a piece of paper. It was the first crack in the facade of her perfect life, and she knew it was only the beginning. Rather than confronting Jack immediately, Leah decided to gather more evidence before taking action. Her suspicions had turned into certainty, but she needed undeniable proof to face him. Leah began tracking his movements more closely, noting the times he claimed to be at work or in meetings, and comparing them to the spa's operating hours. It became clear that his visits to the luxury spa were far more frequent than he had ever mentioned. The lies he'd told, once subtle, were now glaringly obvious to Leah as she pieced together the puzzle of his deceit. One evening, when Jack informed her that he had a late business dinner, Leah decided to follow him. She waited until he left the house and trailed his car from a safe distance, her heart pounding with a mixture of anger and apprehension. Her worst fears were confirmed when she saw him pull into the parking lot of an upscale hotel instead of the restaurant he had mentioned. Leah watched from the shadows as Jack stepped out of his car and was greeted by a woman who could only be Rosa. Leah's hands shook as she clutched the steering wheel, watching them disappear into the hotel. The image of her husband with another woman burned into her mind, a confirmation of the betrayal she had desperately hoped wasn't real. She stayed there for hours, parked in the darkness, her thoughts racing. Every moment of their marriage replayed in her mind, the happy memories now tainted by the knowledge of Jack's double life. When Jack returned home later that night, Leah forced herself to act normal. Her silence wasn't an act of forgiveness, it was a calculated move. She knew that confronting him without concrete evidence would give him the opportunity to twist the truth. Leah wanted to ensure there was no way he could deny what she had discovered. In the days that followed, Leah continued her quiet investigation. She searched Jack's phone when he carelessly left it unlocked on the kitchen counter. Among his messages, she found exchanges with Rosa that were undeniably intimate. The texts were filled with flirtation, plans for secret rendezvous, and even hints at future vacations they were planning together. Leah took screenshots of everything, forwarding them to her own email for safekeeping. The confrontation finally came when Leah could no longer keep her emotions bottled up. One evening, as Jack prepared to leave for yet another business dinner, Leah blocked his path. She laid out all the evidence she had gathered, the receipts, the text messages, and her knowledge of his frequent visits to the spa. Jack's reaction wasn't what she expected. Instead of guilt or remorse, he laughed. Jack brushed off Leah's accusations, calling her paranoid and insecure. He claimed that the texts were harmless, that the spa visits were simply a way to relieve stress, and that Rosa was just a friend. But Leah could see through his lies. His dismissive attitude only fueled her anger. The man she had trusted with her heart and life now stood before her, completely indifferent to the pain he had caused. As Jack packed a bag and prepared to leave for the night, Leah felt a mix of devastation and fury. She had hoped that confronting him would lead to some kind of resolution, but instead, it only confirmed his arrogance and disregard for their marriage. Leah watched him walk out the door, her mind reeling from the betrayal. It wasn't just the affair that shattered her, it was the realization that the man she had loved for 15 years was no longer the person she thought he was. The confrontation marked a turning point for Leah. What had started as suspicion had spiraled into heartbreak, and now a smoldering rage began to take hold. She knew her life would never be the same, and she couldn't shake the feeling that Jack's betrayal would demand a reckoning. Leah's fury simmered in the days after Jack's dismissal of her confrontation. The man she had once admired for his ambition and charm now seemed unrecognizable, his betrayal cutting deeper with each passing moment. Left alone in the sprawling mansion that had once been their sanctuary, Leah found herself consumed by thoughts of revenge. She vacillated between heartbreak and anger, unable to reconcile the life she had built with the lies Jack had woven. Determined to reclaim control, Leah began devising a plan. She knew confronting Rosa directly could expose the true extent of their relationship, and she wanted answers that Jack had refused to provide. After a few discreet inquiries, Leah learned that Rosa often worked late evenings at the spa. Armed with this knowledge, Leah decided to visit the spa herself, her resolve strengthened by the betrayal that had upended her world. The evening Leah arrived at the spa, the atmosphere exuded luxury and exclusivity. Soft music played in the background, and the air was perfumed with calming essential oils. But Leah felt no sense of serenity as she stepped inside. Her heart raced as she approached the reception desk, asking to book an appointment with Rosa. The receptionist, accustomed to wealthy clientele, didn't question her request and scheduled her for a late slot. Leah's intention wasn't relaxation, it was confrontation. When Rosa finally appeared, Leah was struck by her presence. She was beautiful, with an air of confidence that hinted at her familiarity with high-powered men like Jack. Leah struggled to contain her emotions as the session began. Sitting on the massage table, she revealed her identity and connection to Jack. Rosa's composed demeanor faltered slightly, a flicker of recognition passing over her face. Leah pressed her for details about her relationship with Jack, determined to unearth the truth. Rosa's response was guarded but revealing. She admitted to having a close relationship with Jack, justifying it as part of the connections she formed with her high-profile clients. While she didn't explicitly confirm an affair, the insinuations in her words and tone left little doubt in Leah's mind. Rosa's calm detachment infuriated Leah, who had hoped for remorse or guilt. Instead, Rosa seemed unapologetic, as though Leah's pain was merely an inconvenience. Leaving the spa, Leah felt a mix of vindication and despair. She had the confirmation she needed, but it did nothing to ease her anguish. The betrayal now felt complete, with Rosa's indifferent attitude amplifying Leah's sense of injustice. Jack's lies, coupled with Rosa's complicity, turned Leah's heartbreak into a burning rage. She couldn't bear the thought of them continuing their lives without consequence, while she was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered marriage. As the days turned into weeks, Leah became consumed by her emotions. Her world had been upended, and the future she had envisioned was gone. She withdrew from friends and family, unable to share the full extent of her humiliation and heartbreak. In her solitude, thoughts of retribution began to take root. The idea of Jack and Rosa escaping unscathed seemed unbearable. Leah's thoughts spiraled further into darkness. She couldn't ignore the sense of powerlessness that consumed her, and she yearned for a way to reclaim the control Jack and Rosa had stripped from her. It wasn't just about the betrayal. It was about the blatant disregard for her feelings and the life they had built together. For Leah, this was no longer a matter of heartbreak. It was a matter of justice. What had started as suspicion had now turned into a consuming desire for revenge. Leah found herself teetering on the edge of reason, her thoughts clouded by anger and a need to make Jack and Rosa pay for the devastation they had caused. She knew she couldn't continue to live in the shadows of their betrayal, and she resolved that their actions would not go unanswered. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change everything. Leah's mind had become a whirlwind of emotions, her once calm demeanor replaced by a storm of anger and despair. Jack's betrayal and Rosa's indifference were unbearable, leaving her trapped in a cycle of sleepless nights and restless days. Every detail of their affair haunted her. The receipts, the messages, the smugness in Jack's voice when he denied her accusations. The house, once a symbol of their shared success, now felt suffocating, filled with echoes of broken promises. One evening, Leah decided she could no longer endure the pain in silence. She carefully planned her next steps, her thoughts fueled by a need for justice. She wasn't looking for reconciliation or even closure. She wanted to ensure that Jack and Rosa faced consequences for the devastation they had caused. Leah began by researching their movements, piecing together a timeline of their secret rendezvous. She discovered that Jack had planned another evening with Rosa at the same hotel she had followed him to weeks earlier. This time, Leah would not remain a passive observer. On the night of their planned meeting, Leah drove to the hotel, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. Her thoughts were singular and consuming. This was her chance to confront Jack and Rosa in a way they wouldn't forget. Dressed inconspicuously, Leah entered the hotel lobby and waited, keeping her distance from the reception desk to avoid drawing attention. She didn't have to wait long. Jack arrived first, his demeanor confident and oblivious to the turmoil he had caused. Moments later, Rosa appeared, her polished appearance a stark contrast to the anger simmering within Leah. Leah followed them from a safe distance, watching as they made their way to a private suite. Once they disappeared behind the door, she felt a surge of adrenaline. She had brought with her a bag containing items she hoped would give her the upper hand. Leah approached the door, her heart pounding, and knocked firmly. The seconds felt like hours as she waited for an answer. When Jack opened the door, his expression shifted from surprise to alarm. Rosa appeared behind him, her confident demeanor faltering as she recognized Leah. The confrontation that followed was explosive. Leah unleashed months of pent-up rage, laying bare every piece of evidence she had collected. Jack tried to dismiss her accusations, but Leah's resolve was unshakable. She demanded accountability, exposing the lies they had woven and the damage they had caused. The argument escalated rapidly, emotions running high. In the heat of the moment, Leah's fury boiled over. She reached for the bag she had brought, pulling out a heavy object, a trophy from Jack's collection, one he had often boasted about as a symbol of his success. Without thinking, she swung it, the weight of her anger propelling the motion. The impact was immediate and devastating. Jack collapsed to the floor, blood pooling beneath him. Rosa screamed, frozen in shock, as Leah stood motionless, the trophy still in her hand. Reality crashed down on Leah like a wave. She hadn't planned for this, but her actions couldn't be undone. Panic set in as she realized the gravity of what had just happened. Rosa, paralyzed with fear, finally found her voice and reached for her phone to call for help. Leah, however, acted quickly, grabbing the phone and stopping her. The room was tense and silent, save for the muffled sounds of the hotel beyond the door. In the aftermath, Leah fled the scene, her mind racing with fear and regret. She knew there was no escaping the consequences of her actions. The life she had known was gone, replaced by a path she never imagined she would take. Jack's betrayal had set everything in motion, but it was Leah's decision in that moment of rage that sealed her fate. The tragic ending of their story was now etched in blood, a chilling reminder of how love, betrayal, and vengeance could intertwine with devastating results.